everybody, this is Brett Ingram, and this is the optYOUmize podcast, the show that helps entrepreneurs build their dream business and dream life. Today, we're talking with Dr. John Oda, former Tony Robbins coach, business growth strategist, motivational leadership, public speaker, mental health professional, and author. He's collaborated with renowned speakers like Anthony Robbins, Stephen Covey, Dan Kennedy, and Les Brown, and he's been a guest on Oprah and Friends. He's an expert in personal development, mental health, and business growth. I'm super excited about this because I think personal development and business growth are very closely connected in our quest for success. So with that, welcome, John, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Wow! Great introduction. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You've earned it. I mean, when you accomplish all that and you've done all those things, it's important to try to get as much in there as we can, because I think, a life worth of accomplishing things, it's definitely worth acknowledging as well. So,
Brett, it's funny you mentioned that. Sometimes I forget what I do. I really do. Sometimes I read my own bio. I'm like, wow, who's that guy? That's impressive. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, God has blessed me and really did. And sometimes you don't understand how he blessed you in so many different fields.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done some amazing work too. We're going to get to all that. So I know that you're going to be sharing some amazing tips, and I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask you, but
okay.
I do want to start off with your background. Can you give us an idea of how you got your career started and what led you to focus on personal development, mental health, and business growth in the first place?
That's a great question. I'm gonna tell you my story. So I'm 8 of 10 biological siblings. So I'm the baby boy. I got 2 younger sisters. Growing up in a little city called Michigan City, Indiana, 45 miles west of Chicago. I had a severe stuttering problem. I couldn't say my words. I couldn't say anything. It was the most embarrassing things in the world. So I went to this private school called St. Mary's, the Catholic school, right? So we had people in the high school and people in the grade school, which, I was in first grade. They had this one, the meanest nun in the world. I'm talking about, if you imagine the lady with the coat on and the ruler, if you drop your pencil, pap, you're like, oh, yeah. So I was scared of her anyway, right? So I'd like read in class, and, she would like try to rush me really quick, and then she'd say, okay, John, I need to talk to your mom. And mom, had her 7 times already prior to me. So my mother went there, and I was in the room playing with the little crazy toys. And I raised my hand and said, do I leave? Because when I was growing up, young folks they don't be around grown folks. This is back when we were growing up, right? What happens is, none said, no, I'll stay, She talked to mommy, hey, John's a good kid. He's likable. Thank you. But then she said something that completely changed my life. She said, he's retarded. We don't think he will graduate 8th grade. We want to send him to the school right down the street called Garfield because he won't make it. And Mom, imagine my mother, man, big old Afro lady. My mom said, wait a minute. If John leaves, they all leave. This is money now. Listen, Mrs. Oda, calm down. Calm down. Mom said, no. I haven't even started yet. And you're going to tell my baby that in front of him? Right? So, Mom, she said, calm down. He can stay. I had stipulations. Here's the stipulations was. I had to go to speech therapy. Met this guy named Mr. Anderson, the nicest guy in the world. He says, hi, my name is Mr. Anderson. I stutter. I said, okay. That's what I want you to tell people. And Brett, let me tell you, man, I thought stuttering was a curse. I thought, God, all my siblings can speak, all my friends can speak except for me. And I'm like, man, I'm going to say, hi, my name is John. I stutter. People don't say, hi, my name is John. I got cancer, right? You don't speak those labels. That's another one. We'll get down to labels. I'm going to write down labels, right? So you ask me why I do or what I do. So first thing, labels I don't like, unless it's positive. You tell me I'm good looking, I'm a genius. Thank you. You're absolutely right. You tell me I'm retarded, I won't finish 8th grade, and you are a leader that I look up to. First, I'm scared of you, but I still look up to you. You got these leader privileges, and you're going to abuse them on a kid. So what happened was I stayed. The following year, I was back in first grade again. And I started, I got all good grades. Mama, went to the school. Fine, I'm in first grade again. I was still there. Graduate 8th grade. I said, hey, graduate 8th grade. She said, you'd never graduate 9th. She says you never graduated high school. Is your job to motivate me or your job to just piss me off? Because I was already angry. I was depressed. I was, oh my God, man. I had I worked with kids for 37 years, right? I had all these issues. I had anger. I had depression. I had suicidal thoughts. I had all this stuff bottled in because it was crazy. No, I didn't tell you. From fourth grade to fifth grade, I went from 5'1" to 6'5".
Wow.
Growing
Wow.
pains.
That's
Bad
crazy.
knees. Because, you stretch out your body like that, and, I'm 140, 120 pounds. I could dunk the ball, but, it was stretching out everything. I'm like, oh, my God. So all this stuff was going on, and this lady's telling me this crazy stuff. But it's like life, right? So my sophomore year, she died. Bittersweet. She died at 91, 92 years old. She's an older lady. Senior year, of course, I graduated. I did the whole thing. So imagine, for me, I'm a little bit crazy right now. I was locked up in a shell for 27 years. I was nice. I was quiet. Talked to my friends. Talked to family. Everybody else, I don't know. I want you to see this guy, this big old tall guy, big old head guy named Tony Robbins, back when I was 28 years old. Told the lady, I said, I want to get over the stuttering issue. Tony had me on stage. And man, I was embarrassed to go on stage too, because man, it was embarrassing. I'm like, oh my God, man, God cursed me. I know he cursed me. I went on stage, man. He taught me a breathing technique and changed everything.
Really?
And it unleashed the giant within. You know that crazy book? That was
Yeah.
me. I became more outspoken, tried different things. People said, John, what happened to you, man? You changed. No, man, I was stuck in this body that these labels that these people put on me. The reason why I started to do mental health and personal is development because of me. These kids I see, bits and pieces I see me, but I know how I overcame them.
Yeah.
It wasn't, believe me, I prayed. But even by praying, you have to work your butt off. Mm-hmm. You have to still do the work. People said, oh, John, I pray to God. Thank you. But are you working? Are you doing the daily practice? Are you working each and every day on your craft? And if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice. So the reason why I did this personal development is because I went through issues. Stuttering, self-esteem, no confidence. And I'm like, my God. And I look back and I'm like, geez, that guy was a great person because he made me to who I am today. So then from there, everything else just took off. But that's why I started. If I'm going to label a kid, I'm going to say, listen to me, man, you're smart, of your genius. Say, John, I want to be a scientist. You can do that. You can do it. This one guy told me, I remember I was mental health working at a hospital. He says, I want to be Michael Jordan. I said, you can do that. And everybody said, why are you lying to this kid? I said, no, he can. But here's the thing. You got to work out about a good 12 hours a day. 4 or 5 days practices. You have to get great grades. You have to do some stuff. And the kid, he came there for angry. He was a really exceptional basketball player. He was not a Michael Jordan, but man, he got a full ride for scholarship. To me, that was Michael Jordan. Yeah. I mean, there's very few, 1.11% in the next 20,000 years, right? Michael's just a completely different guy, right? But the guy was a phenomenal guy. He got in college. He graduated. He got a great job. Was he a Michael Jordan? No, but man, it changed his whole life. And to me, I like the transformation of going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. But here's what people got to understand. In the metamorphosis, you're going to go through changes. You're going to work your butt off. You're going to go through heartache. That's why I started doing business. Because mental health to me, mental health going through personal development and business, as you mentioned, Brett, is the exact same thing. We got to go through those processes. People are going to say, well, John, I'm in business. Yeah, you are in business. And how's business going, man? Business is great. And then those 6 months, how's business? Oh, man, it's terrible. Man, here it goes, man. Wherever you're at, that's where you're going to take your business to. You have to completely work on yourself to get your business to the next level to scale. Anyway, I know you have many questions. Anyway, but that's how I see things. Mental health to me, people said, how you go from mental health to business? It was easy. It's the same process. It's the same foundation.
Yeah.
It's the exact same foundation. You got to still work. You see these guys like Tony Robbins. John, I want to be a Tony Robbins. You can be. But let's start off with him 40 years ago. You can't be the Tony Robbins right now. That's going to be highly impossible. Let's be the Tony Robbins 40 years ago when he first started off. Absolutely you can. Let's work on the skill sets you have right there, then we can move forward. But if you're thinking to be the Tony Robbins right now, no.
Well, that's, yeah. And, first of all, your story is so powerful. And I think it's something so many people can relate to. I don't often think that people in positions of power and authority understand the impact of what they say and how they feel. When you set expectations for somebody, low or high, it impacts the way that they perform. There's no question about that. And if you expect them to be able to achieve at a high level, I'll tell you a funny story. So my kids are both soccer players, my boys. And so my younger son is 5 years younger than his brother. And so when he was coming up through the ranks, he was, I think, maybe 7 years old or something. And we had him in the same club that my older son played at. And so the coach that he had the kids doing these drills. And they were very strict with the kids, very, very, out of love, but they expected a lot from them. And they were doing this one drill, and it started with one ball, and then they had 2, 3, 4, they had 5 balls, and the kids were going around on this thing. And he came back over to me, the coach, and he just leaned his head over and he said, "This is a drill we do with the 17-year-olds. They had 7-year-olds doing it because they didn't tell them in advance, well, this is really advanced drill. 17-year-olds do this. Then they would have mentally thought, oh, well, we can't do this. We're 7. They just expected them to do it. And so it took them a little bit longer to pick it up. But within a little bit of time, they were doing the drill the same way the older kids were. And it's remarkable, that power of expectation. But, also, it's such a great story of triumph, personally for you, because to go through something like that and not have it beat you down enough that you wouldn't be able to try and wouldn't want to persevere and break through is just a testament and a great lesson for everybody. That no matter what circumstances you have or you find yourself in, look, life is not fair. I don't think there's any doubt about that, right? But our choices are to whine about it or to make something happen and make the most of what we can. And so I think that, obviously, you're a walking testament to that. The other thing that you said that really I love is the reason I started this podcast is I'm a big believer in the fact that, well, first of all, I never had a mentor in my business career. And so for me, I realized when I look back that it was lonely and hard in ways it shouldn't have been if I was smart enough to reach out, find mentors, connect with people better. And so I'm trying to be that mentor and that voice for other people. But the other part of it is that I'm a firm believer in that your business is limited or unlimited based on your own ability and your own willingness to work on yourself. Because as an entrepreneur, right, it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of what you do. And so we're in total sync in terms of the way we see that. I think if you want to grow your business, you have to grow yourself as well. And, it's a labor of love for sure, but you touched on the labor part. It's work. It's hard. You have to love it because whatever you're doing, it's not going to be easy if it's worth accomplishing. I mean, that's it's the process. It's the crucible of fire that makes it the value, attaches the value to it that it has. And so, so I love all that you shared there and appreciate that. So as entrepreneurs, we all want to be able to grow a business, right? And yet many people struggle to make that happen, but they do work hard. So it's not that, some people are lazy or they're watching TV instead of working. Sure, there's those. But the people that actually work hard and feel like they're doing the things right, I know there isn't a simple reason for why, but in your experience, are there common challenges or roadblocks that you see that prevent people from achieving their potential in business?
Yes. So I'm going to hit on something you hit on earlier, and I'll connect it together. There's 3 types of leaders that I see all the time. There's 3 types of leaders. And I'm coming out with the book in November. I'm pretty jazzed about this book, too. I'm going to hit one of the chapters, right? And there's 3 types of leaders that I see all the time. There's a leader that is destructive / stagnated. Those types of leaders, They're there, but they don't do that much. They complain, they gripe, they do whatever takes place, and they get little bitty things, and they work. They work, or also they start something and they quit. Like they're playing basketball, right? They played the game called basketball. They get a great 40% improvement, and then all of a sudden, man, it goes bad. They go off to something else. Like you see these people who do the mortgages or real estate. When it's booming, they're there. When it's gone, they get to something else, right? So those to me are the dabblers. Those are the destruction people, right? Then we have people who are more of neutral, right? They're not the guys who, they don't do anything. They make it even Steven. They don't do anything good, don't do anything bad, but they play, remember we play like the double dutch. You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, right? And these are the type of people that I call they're stressors, right? So just say let's start the game called basketball again, right? They play the game called basketball, play it again. 40% man day, great. And of course, that when you play anything, you're going to hit a plateau. What happens is what they do, they stress, complain, stress. Breakthrough! But they spend their whole life stressing. Then we meet the third person, right? The third person, what I call is the effective one. He's the effective one that work on themselves. Because if you can't work on yourself, you can't work on others, right? These people, they do the right things. They go to the seminars, go to the workshops. They need a coach, they hire a coach, right? These people we would call is mastery, right? And when we call these people in mastery, so they play the game called basketball again, right? They're playing basketball. 40%, they know that they do great. But what happens is they say, I'm going to hit a plateau. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to hire a coach. I'm going to do something else because I know a plateau is going to come up soon. When the plateau come up, I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to be effectively ready for it. And then he's going to explode, right? And that's the difference. But I have a question for you. Now, you said you have 2 kids, right?
I have 3, but I have 2 boys. Yep.
3 kids. So you have 3 kids, right? Remember when these kids, they're playing games. I remember I played with my nephew, right? I played this game. He said, Uncle John, you want to play with me? I said, yeah, man. So I played with him. Boom, boom. I'm dead. He would play. 45 minutes later, Uncle John, it's your turn again. And I'm like to myself, now, do you think this kid was smarter than me? No. What happened was this kid played it already. He knew that when you shoot there, another guy's going to come out there, another guy's going to come out there, another guy's going to come out backwards, right? So what people do when they hire these mentors, when they hire these people who can actually help them out, we know the game already. We've seen the path already, and we know it. It's not meaning that we're smarter, but when you work with, in the last 29 years, working with some of the greats, from Tony Robbins to the great Chet Holmes was a genius, to Jay Abraham, all these guys that I worked with, right? You see the road, you see patterns, and I look at patterns. So I'm like, I see this pattern, okay, it's not going to work. But the key is you have to be effective, and effective means working on yourself. I tell people say, John, you do a lot of work. I said, man, I work out 4 days a week, 4 times a day on my craft. I look through some stuff on Chet Holmes, Tony Robbins. I like my boy Bruce Lee, his tips and style. And then I work on my sales process, what's going on, how I do presentations, do X, Y, and Z. Because when I get around clients, man, I'm poetry in motion. It's just smooth, right? So I talked to this guy at the gym, right? We're talking, and this Amazon guy being an insurance person because his parents got this crazy book, right? I said, man, you should do insurance. And I've been pushing him, and he started doing it. So he said, all right, man, great. I said, how many clients do you want this month? I said, I want 50 by the end of the year. I said, all right. So I talked to him a couple of days ago. So how's it going? He says, man, I had this guy, he had this objection. I said, all right. So what are you going to do? I'm going to talk to him next week about the same objection. You didn't handle the objections? You don't practice objections? He said, I'm supposed to? I'm like, yeah. I said, you need a coach, man. I said, you need a coach who already been there and done that already, who've been through this road already. Here's going to be a problem. The guy's going to come back. You have to resell them again. You have to close them again. So do you know how hard that is? You have to have some crazy skill set. They're going to probably tell you no, but I says, so that's a week ago. So yesterday, I said, how would it go? Just like you said. I said it, when it's not a good time to hook up a brother, man. I said, I got you, man. He says, I got this. I said, all right, man. And to me, when he says he got me, that tells me that he's more of he's in this terrible 2/teenagers. He's trying to find the identity, but he have so much ego that he thinks he knows everything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, not a problem. We will move forward, and eventually you'll come back. If not, you just do what you're doing right now. You keep on having 6 people closing 1, which is crazy. People should close 50, 60, 70% easy to be true. That's only my opinion, if you know how to do the closing. Yes. Anyway, but that's just my thing.
Yeah, no.
No, question. Did I answer your question? Because I know I talk. I mean,
yeah. No, I look, I that's what it's all about. I mean, I want to have you on because I want you to share your wisdom, your stories, and all that other stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's super important in terms of the way that we approach what it is we're doing. Do you know? So, I guess the question that I have to follow that up is, let's say somebody is building a business, and let's say they're not quite where they want to be, but they can't quite tell. Is it that something's holding them back, or is it just that they haven't gotten there yet? Are there clues? Are there things that they could look for to know whether they're sort of stuck in neutral or whether they're just on the path and they just haven't gotten there yet?
And great questions. A couple of things that jumped in my head. The first thing that jumped in my head, my mental health part that jumped in, is that they could be having a block when they're a kid. Maybe their mom or their dad said that you can't do it, or X, Y, and Z. And when it gets to a certain point in their life, they quit, right? So that's the first thing of that jumped up. Second thing, in business world, what jumped up. Remember when Bannister, when he ran that 4-minute mile, no one had run it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and what we teach is NLP is how we learn. If you learn something visually, auditory, or kinesthetically, right? So what I would figure out is what's going on with them and where's this box coming from. And then if somebody already is successful in a business, just model the exact same thing of what they're doing, and you get the same results. But again, though, it takes time. Though people don't want to. People just want to say, "I want to is growing business and growing," right? And that's fine. But for me, the first thing that jumped up is mental blocks. Sometimes, man, I mean, people can say stuff like this. One lady said, "You're gonna be just like your dad, a bum." Well, the kid went to business, and when it got tough, he stopped. And he quit and did something else. He turned into a dabbler. Because that's what my mom said. I said, maybe your mom's not right. So we had to do more of a reparenting to change what the mom said and the back. Because what people don't understand, when you have a mental health issue just at 15 and you don't deal with it, when you get 40, it's the same issue, but it just changed forms now. Now you got a family, now you have kids, but you got the same issue right now until you change. When you can go back there and change it, and change take a minute. So it doesn't take long to change, right? But you have to say, okay, I realize I needed to get a change. Let me change. But there's a lot of people that they don't want to do that. As again, they're not effective. They don't want to do that work to make a change. But when you can change that, then when you have people in teams, you can change them because you're a changed person. So that's right there is the biggest thing that I see so much is that, man, guys, we have to make a change. But you have to be effective. You have to realize, okay, there's a block right now. Where's this block coming from? Is it coming from my past? Is it coming from what somebody said? Or else do I need a new strategy? And this is a guy I want to be like, what can I model? So let me model his values, his belief system, how he sees things. Let me interview him to see what he's doing so I can implement inside my business. But again, though, you have to be a study of people. And I love that stuff. I love seeing people. So there's one guy, he said he'd made $100 million in like 8 years. I said, man, how'd you do it? I said, let's have an interview. I wrote down this stuff. I'm like, interesting. I said, it's a beautiful concept, but if you model that, I said, even if I don't get to 100 million, man, if I get a little bit of that, 10%, 15, 20% of that, I'm great. I told everybody, right? So people ask me, so what's your goal? I said, by 2030, I want to be on the Forbes top 10 list of Black billionaires. They look at me, they go, John, that's a really big thing. I said, yeah, I know. I said, I'm shooting for the stars. I said, it's God. If you threw it out there, he said, this one guy said, well, what happened if you get 10%? I said, do you think I'd be mad at 100 million? Really? You think about being mad at 100 million? I'll be going, oh, shucks. I'm like, see, here's what people do. And that's what I do for my coaching. I tell people, I said, what do you want to make? They said, 5 million. I said, great. Let's go for 20. They go, that's a lot of money. It's not. Here's the biggest thing. You'll go for 20 million and just say for each one of your sales, it's $10,000, right? Now we focus on how many people that we have to serve. It's a service now. we switched from business to service now. Because again, though, I bring in more of the biblical sense. My brain works a little bit differently. It works in all little things. My mother was a preacher kid, so we got up in the Bible, but we were born and raised Catholic. In Indiana, we went to go to private schools. Back then it was a difference. But I'm happy that because I put us, okay, you know what you want, let's serve these people. Now, in business-wise, you go back to business, now we come up with a strategy to make it happen. That's one of the biggest things about it. People don't have a strategy. They're more tacticians. Business card, XYZ, website. Okay, guys, how do you get these people to you? What's going to take place to get them to you so you can be completely different? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that a lot from the perspective of entrepreneurship and business ownership. A lot of people, it's very easy to stay busy. It's very hard to be productive in terms of focusing on the things that are high leverage, right? Every business has more than enough that can be done in any given day. And it's not hard to go through the entire day feeling you were working and busy all day, and maybe you were. But if you're engaging in low leverage activities, the growth you're going to see from that is going to be stunted, limited, or non-existent. Whereas if you're able to focus on the high leverage things, that's where you can really start to move the needle. And I think it's a challenge for a lot of people because it's sort of a combination of not wanting to relinquish control if they're used to being a solopreneur or someone who, does it all themselves. I mean, it's sort of the blessing and the curse of the entrepreneur. We feel like we can do anything. We can roll up our sleeves and do it. That doesn't mean we should do everything, because there's a lot of stuff that if we're engaged in on a daily basis in operational type things, we aren't going to be able to do the higher leverage stuff that's going to grow the business, even though it might not be as fun, it might not be as immediately gratifying. We all know, if we sit back and we think about it, these are the 5 activities that are going to make my business grow the most. And these are the things I should be doing. So if I'm doing something other than that, then it's not the best use of my time. And I think, so that makes total sense. So what about common threads with top performers? If we flip it and we take it from the struggle and we look at top performers, with all your experience working with people and organizations, are there particular habits, traits, and characteristics that the most successful people share?
Great question. What I do is also on my other business I work with athletes. All right, I do sports performance with them, get them into the mindset, get them into the zone, get them everything else. The people who succeed well in business have the X factor. And here's what X factor is. Most times people are successful, right? And people are more like yes people. Like when you work with like a Michael Jordan, everybody say yes, Michael. They want to kiss his butt, do whatever it takes, right? Michael have these guys that's his X factor. It's coaches. Coaches don't care, man. Coaches see some blind spots. You need to work on this. You need this. You need to work on this. What we have to be when we become leaders, we have to have somebody that's X factors. Will tell us what we need to do so we can do better, right? Not because we want to kiss their butt, because we want to get in the party with them or X, Y, and Z. No, we want to make them grow and make them be the best people that they can be. But people who are really exceptional, even basketball players, they get that X factor. And the X factor is, man, they know who they are. They working their butt off. And they don't want to hear no hyperbole BS stuff just to pump them up, just to make them feel good. They say, hey, John, here's where you're at. Your sales is down. You need to work on X, Y, and Z. Come on back to me and we'll see how your things are going. So they have a sense of, I'm going to speak to you like I'm your coach. You're going to listen and you're going to do it. Because when you do this is where you're going to get all the success, whatever that you mention what success is, right? So the outcome is have that X factor. But here's what I find out. When working with a lot of these business people, they don't have the X. Most 80%, 90% of them don't have the X factor. They want a yes person. And I tell everybody I work with, I say, guys, listen to me. I'm not your friend. I'll be friendly. I will love you, but I believe in results. So I believe in results. We have to do stuff that you might not want to do. And if that's the case, and if you don't like that, you don't like a person who's direct. Listen, when I was growing up, family of 10, my parents were the best. God rest their soul. Really do. But mom and dad was direct. When they said jump, you said how high. You said run, you said how fast. 10 of us, right? I mean, but I tell people, I am more of a Dr. Phil meet business coach. We're direct. We're going to have these hard conversations, as we say, come to Jesus talk, for you to get better. But if you want to get better in business, if you want to grow your business, you want to close at 60, 70% like you should be anyway, to be truly honest with you, if you know how to close the process, if you want to grow and scale your business, systemize your business, do all the things about it, you got to work on you, and you have to come up with the hard factor. When I used to do mental health, I used to have a supervision with my staff members. So I'd come up with the year goals. We come up with 90-day goals. We come up with monthly goals, right? All right, guys, we're hitting this, and let's come up with weekly goals. Once a week, what are you doing on this goal? Well, I'm not there. Why not? And I tell them, I don't want to hear no excuses. Only results. Don't tell me your dog ate the food. I don't want to hear that. They go, well, you're so mean. No, we want results. Only results. I like you guys to death. I'm friendly to you, but we're not friends right now. Because if I'm your friend, I want to have empathy for you. I want to say, okay, that's okay. You can come back tomorrow. I get it. I understand. No big deal. No. I'm going to listen to what you have to say. I'm going to be friendly to you, but I'm having enough ego to say no. So one day I was working with Chet Holmes, right? You know, Chet Holmes, legendary, love Chet Holmes, right? So he had this big old script. He told us all practice it, right? Man, I looked to it. I'm like, okay, fine. I got this stuff. I do this stuff, right? So one time Chet Holmes called on me. And I swear, man, my stuttering came up again. I was nervous and sweating because I didn't read this thing, right? And Chet saw this, man. There's no lie. Chet ripped me a new butthole in front of everybody. And I'm like to myself, so my buddies called me up, man, you should quit. Man, that was cold-blooded. I said, no, he was completely right. I was not ready. We came back that next week. I raised my hand and I completely kicked everybody's butt. But again, though, it was X factor. Yeah, I went inside my crazy old mode. He didn't care. He's not my friend. He's friendly, and he wants me to succeed, which I did. I mean, when you can close $7,500 to $35,000 deals back from 2008 to 2016, you're doing something right. But again, though, it was that having that X factor, wanting to be best, wanting to be the greatest, right? My goal, when I remember when I was had the stuttering issue, I changed it to becoming a genius. That's why, I said there's so many things coming inside my head. I'm just a genius right now. I said everybody stutter. I'm not a stutterer. I just stutter at times. But you're a genius. You have all these things coming to your mind. I had to change the meaning of the whole thing, right? But my biggest goal about the whole thing is that we just have to work harder. And I think entrepreneurs don't understand it. We open up a great business and they succeed greatly for the first year. But if you have no systems to support it, and I mean systems to grow your business, it's a big difference. What I call profit stations, right? So anyway, but that is my whole theory that I have, right? You have to have that X factor, and very few people don't want to be talked to that directly and that mean. But to me, I love it because my mom and dad was so direct. I'm like, guys, don't sugarcoat me. Just tell me. What do you mean? Just tell me. I'm good. I'm not made out of glass. I'm 6'7". I'm good. Tell me what you have to do, and we're good. And that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful message. I think, and it's one of the knocks I know that the younger generation gets is that they don't have the resilience to be able to work through things or the thick skin to be able to hear feedback as anything other than positive. But I have to say, one of the things that I think about when you say that is I think about like teachers I had. And, throughout school, whether it was, grade school or even, college or graduate school, the teachers that were the most fun and the easiest, it was a blast at the time, but they didn't push me to learn in the ways that the ones that had higher standards and didn't take the BS, and they might not have wasted as much time making small talk, but I learned so much more and I developed so much more, and it wasn't something I recognized in the moment, but in retrospect and looking back, I see that all the time. And, it's funny because even my younger son, even at a very young age, it's the same one that was, playing soccer with the tough coach. one of the things he liked the most about that coach is that he was very direct and very honest. So he would tell you the things you needed to work on. He'd praise you too. If you did something good and it was worthy of praise, he would say it. But he wasn't afraid, even at 7 and 8 years old, to tell these kids, listen, you need to work on your right foot. I don't want to see you shooting that with with your left foot. If you're on the right-hand side, that should be a right-footed shot. So you got to develop it. And very few people, especially when you're dealing with kids that age, will have that. But this guy grew up in Colombia. His coach was a real disciplinarian. So what he's doing with these kids is nothing compared to what he was. But you can see how when you have those expectations and you give people honest feedback, it is a two-way street. The person has to be receptive enough to understand it and internalize it and be willing to work on it, as opposed to just rejecting it and saying, well, that person's a jerk. That person's mean, because if their best interest is to help you, the advice they're giving you is to make you better. They could tell you a bunch of nice things, but all it's going to do is cripple you or keep you static where you are, as opposed to somebody who's going to work with you. So I love that story and the advice in there, because I do think it's really important that we need people that will be honest with us, and we need to surround ourselves with people like that. It's good to not be the smartest person in the room in every aspect. You want people that are smarter than you in various other things. That's how you grow. And at the same time, you have to be open and willing to admit mistakes. I'll tell you a funny thing even about the podcast. One of my reservations about starting it is the fact that I struggled a little bit being vulnerable. I always felt like if I'm going to make a podcast about business, I got to be a business expert. I got to know everything about everything. And then I said, no, I don't. Nobody does. What I need to do is give the information I've got, share the stories I've got that people will relate to, mistakes and triumphs, and bring people on the show that can share different perspectives and viewpoints that will help people make distinctions and get to where they want to go faster. And once I made that mental switch where I didn't feel like I had to have all the answers and I could admit mistakes that I made, it's liberating. And it is the source of growth. It's the start of growth when you start to do that.
It's funny how our brain works. Our brain tells us, well, we got to be the expert. We have to do this. And it just stops us from that growth, right? It's almost, look at Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill interviewed people to write Think and Grow Rich. He didn't, and really, as Andrew Carnegie wrote that book, he was just going over what he wrote to get X, Y, and Z. If you ever read the book called Get Hired for a Job by Andrew Carnegie or something like that, that book is phenomenal. But if you read that book, it's really Think and Grow Rich, right? So, and the reason why I became so direct, first I grew up, it's like that. But in mental health field, I worked around adolescents. So when I used to work in Michigan City, Indiana, and Chicago, right, we used to work around the gang kids. The gang kids, we had different gangs, from black gangs, white gangs, green, blue, all polka dot gangs. And these kids, man, you had to be straight up with them. So one time I remember I was in group one time, and this one kid was in group, a 16-year-old kid. We was like residential, right? And what happened was we're in the group. We had a couple of doctors. At the time, I was just a counselor. We had the doctors there, had a couple of me there, had about maybe 50 kids in there. We're going around the room. This one kid said it, so why are you here? He said, I killed my 3 friends. Everyone says, okay. And then I question, I said, so what happened? He says, all right, man. He says, he says, I'm a crack dealer, man. I sell crack. I said, all right, okay, all right, man. All right, tell me. He said, yeah, I'm selling crack, man. Do crack, man. One day I went home. I didn't want to go to school, man. And I went to my house, and my mom was there. I said, all right, what happened? He said, my friends were around my mom doing inappropriate things. I said, okay, what did you do? I killed him. Just killed her off. And I said, okay. I said that. And then he says, then he says, he asked another doctor, so what would you do? The doctor said some crazy stuff. He asked me, what'd you do? I said, I did the same thing. That was my mama. Some of my buddies, I shoot them all too. You did the right thing, man. I agree with you 100%. Right in the room said, where's John taking this, right? I said, but here's the biggest thing about it. I don't sell crack. When you sell crack, you don't know who is going to. Your crack went to your mama. Your mama now is a crackhead. You're 16 years old. You're going to be here for 2 years. You're going to go to jail for 30 years. I said, was that worth it? I said, all honest with you, I agree with you 100% of what you did. But you need to figure out the root of it. It was because of you. If you'd have done something else with school, it did a completely different thing, you would have changed your whole life completely. You didn't do that. I said, so for number one, you had a choice. But when I said that, I had respect from everybody. Everybody, all the kids, I said it. He's direct. He's to the point. He's not going to BS you. He's going to tell you what's completely right if you like it or not. You have to be able to take it. Even when I work with my kids right now, I just do mental health because my kids are not explaining to them. I said, I love you. I'll be like a father figure to you, but I'm going to be very direct to you. If you're not doing stuff, we're done from the phone call. Why talk? If you didn't prepare for this program, we're done. Well, that's mean. Your mama's going to get mad because she paid for me. You can talk to your parents now. They come, they're prepared. Why? Because they know what I expect. I went to one of my kids, they play basketball. So I went to the game, and they said, what do I call you? Just call me coach, I'm good. I was cheering with him on, telling him what to do. And he says, and his parents said, well, it's nice for you coming. I said, of course. I'm going to still support him. But when we talk, we're going to get some stuff done. So to me, you got to be authentic. You have to be real. You got to be direct for people to grow. If not, man, they're not going to grow. They're going to go, oh, yeah, John said it. John's my profession. He's good. No, man, John is off the hook, man. I work my butt off, and I expect for you to work your butt off.
Yeah, that's great advice. I fully agree with you, and I think it's super important. I think we're definitely entering a new age too of authenticity, where people are sort of done with the curated this and curated that and overproduced everything, because there's a thirst for real. We're all human and we know it. So to pretend otherwise is silly, really. And so I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. So can I ask you, where can people find your products or services? Where can they connect with you?
I have a lot of them. I think I sent you the link to all of them, guys. I do from the couple of things I love. I do the sales training program. I do another one for a business one. It's business with family mixed in. I do a lot of different ones, guys. I sent everything to you guys, and man, thank you so much for having me on the show, man. I looked at the time, I'm like, wow, we've been talking. Or let me text this back. Wow, I've been talking.
Yeah, of course. No, listen, it's a blast. I'll post all the links as well, and I'll give a recap here in a second. So I do have one last question that I want to ask you, because I think it's important. And it's something that I ask every guest because I love to get unique perspectives. What's your number one tip for success as a business owner or an entrepreneur?
Pretty much what we've been talking about. Work on yourself.
Yeah.
Go to the seminars, go to the workshops, go to different things to expand your grant, to expand your thing. So how people have to stand, right? So when you learn something new, you go to a seminar, you learn something new. You learn it, you shoots up. After about 3 or 4 days to a week, it goes back down again. But you still learn a little bit, right? And if you stop right there, you're going to be stagnated, right? So what I do, even with myself, I do training every day. So then I go up here, but then it will stay a little bit higher. Then I got to practice it. Then you have to apply it, right? There's a big difference. When people say, oh, I went to a seminar, I said, great, what did you learn from it? Give me the top 3 things. Well, why are you asking this crazy stuff? Just wondering, what did you learn? And they told me 3 things. I said, now, what do you apply? Well, stop, man. Stop. I've been to so many seminars and workshops. Here's what I do. I write down everything. I'm like, okay, for this day, I'm going to apply this in my business. Let me apply this. Then the next day, I'm going to apply this in my business, right? And a thing for success, what I've learned, I'm going to give you guys a huge tip. This is a huge one. I want you guys to write down 5 things that you see your business 10 years from today. And then I want you to work on those 5 things. So I write down 5 things and get 25, 30 things and come up with 3 things. You come up with those 3 things, that's what you work on. Right? So we did this program, had to be about 10 years ago. And there's one guy who was doing NLP like I do. And he said that he wanted to start doing them online. And he started doing things after we did this program, he started doing them online. That's why I do his NLP online. And no one had done that until he started it. Right? So think about whatever your industry is. Write down 5 things. Boom, 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 boom. Then you say, okay, in 10 years from now, where's my industry going to be? And then focus on those things, right? Come up with 3 of them and start applying them with what you're doing right now. When you do that, you think outside the box now. You're thinking in the future. So imagine, I'm going to give you a thing. Imagine you're in the future 30 years from now. You see your life being completely successful. You're blowing up, your business, everything's doing well. How did you get there? What's taking place? And that's what you need to work at. Or, my favorite one that I give people, right, is, I'm inside, the Avengers and stuff, a different universe, right?
Yeah.
So I do such as with my people, right? I says, imagine you're in a different universe. So a universe that has me in there, but it has me in the top 10 list of black billionaires, right now. So this Earth 1, this Earth 2. This guy's same, man. He's good looking, he's nice, he's kind, he's everything else, but he's working his butt off. What's the difference? So those are the gaps that I have to fill up. Okay, I'm right here and he's right here. These are the gaps I need to fill. And what do I do? So I write them down and figure out what the gaps I have to figure out. And we go through that process. And I work on that one. I work on every day. I do like an audio tape. I visualize myself and I go there and I see this guy. I'm like, this guy's outstanding. But the difference is, how does he act? How does he walk? And here's what he does. Wherever your outcome is, right? So just say, what's your outcome? So what do you want to do in the next 3 years in your business? Just give me a number. Brett, give me a number.
Yeah, 10 million, right?
10 million, right? So this is what you do. If it's $10 million that you want to do, right? I want you to now act like you're already making the $10 million. Walk like it, talk like it. Run your business like you're making the $10 million, right? Because what happens is we pray to God to do everything else, but faith is when you pray for rain, but you don't come up with a raincoat or a freaking umbrella. Well, God, where's the rain at? You pray for it to have $10 million. Why don't you act like you already have it? Look at the car I'm going to have, X, Y, Z, the whole 9 yards, and become that person now. That, to me, is called real faith.
Yeah, I love that advice. And I also think the implementation piece is really important. I think it's easy to be a passive learner and feel good because we're absorbing new information. But if we don't do anything with it, then, it has limited value. So I totally agree with that. I appreciate you sharing that. So with that, it's just about time to wrap things up. I want to thank you again so much, John, for sharing all your insights and great tips with us. You can visit ubgp.pnbcgroup.com to transform your business with his 12-month coaching program designed to master the art of influence and elevate your success. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And as always, remember, no matter what you want from your business and your life, don't compromise, optimize.